Chapter 37, Sweet Torture. Lu Jiu had already planned to give Li Chenmo a foot bath a few days ago, but she needed to prepare the medicine first. Fortunately, the medicine was ready today, and she can finally give him a foot bath. Otherwise, his leg muscles may have problems later since he cannot move much. Li Chenmo wanted to stop her at first, but when she started pressing his acupuncture points, he couldn't help but let out a low groan. Lu Jiu stopped when she heard his groan. She looked up and asked, "Did I hurt you?" Taking a deep breath to stabilize his beating heart, Li Chenmo said hoarsely, "No, I'm fine, you can continue." She nodded, continued to press his acupuncture points, and said, "Bear with it for a while. At first you may feel uncomfortable and painful, but later you will definitely like it." When she was massaging Li Chenmo's feet, Father Li stood awkwardly outside the door. Hearing his son's low groan and Lu Jiu's soft panting, coupled with these words, an indecent image suddenly appeared in his mind. As their panting and groaning intensified, Father Li finally turned around and walked quickly back to his room. He couldn't go on eavesdropping. As inappropriate as it was, they were getting married in 5 days, so he will pretend he doesn't know anything. After all, his son is young and vigorous. For him, having physical needs is a normal thing. What's more, he has loved this girl for so many years. Neither Lu Jiu nor Li Chenmo knew that Father Li had misunderstood them. When the water started to cool down, Lu Jiu poured hot water again and continued to massage his legs. 30 minutes later, she stopped. After drying his feet and calf, she went to the kitchen to wash her hands and throw away the water. When she came back, she had a small jar in her hand. "I made this ointment myself. It will help relieve your soreness. You take off your clothes and I will apply it for you." Lu Jiu opened the jar and said casually. Under her gaze, Li Chenmo took off his clothes helplessly. Seeing his naked upper body, Lu Jiu couldn't help being stunned. No wonder he is the male lad. He's in great shape. This is the perfect example of being lean in the clothes and muscular when undressed. Although she was full of admiration for his figure in her heart, Lu Jiu's expression was still calm. She scooped up some ointment, warmed it with the palm of her hand, and applied it to his body. The moment her hand touched his shoulder, Li Chenmo felt a surge of electricity, and his whole body trembled. His Adam's apple moved as he swallowed when he suddenly felt his throat felt dry, and his body was burning. Lu Jiu didn't know what kind of sweet torture Li Chenmo was enduring as she concentrated on massaging his shoulders, neck and back. Because he can't move and can only lie in bed for a long time, Li Chenmo's muscles are very tense. It took a lot of effort for her to loosen his muscles. After she finished his upper half, she turned to his hands and thighs. After more than an hour, she finally finished the massage. When she was done, her forehead and back were covered with sweat. She helped him dress and lie down. After confirming that he had covered under the quilt, she said, "Tomorrow we are going to the county seat. You should rest early. I will come tomorrow morning." Li Chenmo held her finger and said, "Jiu, thank you for your hard work." She smiled at him and said, "As you said before, you will become my husband in 5 days. Is it necessary to say these words to me? Well, I have to go now. Good night, brother Chenmo." "Good night." Since he felt very comfortable, Li Chenmo fell asleep not long after he touched the pillow. After Li Chenmo fell asleep, Lu Jiu blew out the oil lamp, closed the door and left Li's house. When she arrived at her house, everyone had finished their dinner and returned to their rooms. She went to the kitchen, put the pots and basket away in the cupboard, and then went back to her room. Just when the door was about to close, she noticed Zyro Yiking was looking at her with a pair of icy eyes. Looking at Zyro Yiking's eyes, Lu Jiu was taken aback. According to the novel, the heroine has nothing to do with her. Then why is she looking at her like that? Could it be that the heroine has already met Li Chenmo and fallen in love with him? Therefore the heroine has some resentment toward her, the hero's fiancé. After thinking about it, Lu Jiu dismissed the idea. Zyro Yiking just arrived tonight while Li Chenmo was injured and couldn't go out. Logically speaking, they should not have met yet. Lu Jiu sat on the bed, thinking about the meaning of Zyro Yiking's gazes. But after thinking about it for a long time, she still couldn't find a reasonable explanation. In the end, she just had to put the matter behind her mind for now. Because she was going to get up early tomorrow, she went into her own space to prepare tomorrow's breakfast, took a hot bath, and then went to bed. Early the next morning, Lu Jiu woke up before sunrise. She went to the kitchen to boil a pot of water while preparing a simple breakfast for the family. She made pumpkin porridge and steamed buns, and left a jar of meat sauce for them in the kitchen. When she came out of the kitchen, she saw that Mother Lu had just woken up. Seeing her carrying the bamboo basket, Mother Lu asked, "Jiu, why did you get up so early today?" "Mother, brother Chenmo and I are going to the hospital to check his injuries today. I wanted to tell you and father yesterday, but when I came back you were already resting, so I don't want to disturb you," Lu Jiu said with a smile. Seeing that Mother Lu's face was not very good, Lu Jiu added, I just finished making breakfast, and I'm going to let you know before I leave. Mother Lu felt much better after hearing her words and said, this is your first time going to the county seat, so be careful on the way. Did you bring enough money? I have enough money on me, don't worry about me, Mother. Okay, go early and come back early, Mother Lu said with worry. Then I'm going, I'll be back before dark. Be careful on the road, Mother Lu couldn't help reminding her again. Lu Jiu left in a hurry. She planned to let Li Chenmo finish his breakfast before leaving. Eating on the road can be uncomfortable. When she arrived at Li's house, Father Li had already woken up and was clearing the snow in the front yard. Seeing her coming, he smiled and said, Zairoyu, you are here. Good morning, Uncle Li, I brought breakfast, she said as she walked into the house. Go inside, Chenmo is already waiting for you. Uncle Li, let's have breakfast together, she said when she saw that Father Li was still sweeping the snow. You and Chenmo can go eat first, I'll eat it later. Lu Jiu did not insist and entered the house. Lu Jiu divided half of the food for Father Li and then took the rest to Li Chenmo's room. When she came in, she saw that he was already sitting on the bed reading a book. Brother Chenmo, good morning, she said with a smile and put the food on the small table. Good morning, he put the book down and smiled at her. Lu Jiu handed him a bowl of pumpkin porridge and said, I only made a simple breakfast today, but I made some snacks and steamed buns in case you get hungry on the way. All right. The two ate in silence, but the atmosphere was warm and harmonious. Because it was cold in the morning, Lu Jiu was afraid that he would catch a cold, so she boiled some ginger soup for him. Not long after breakfast, they heard the sound of a tractor approaching. She quickly checked the documents needed by the hospital and went to get the bamboo basket. Father Li helped Li Chenmo walk to the tractor, while Han Yuheng waited outside the gate. When he saw Li Chenmo limping, he quickly went over to help. Brother Han, thank you for helping us. I made some steamed buns and ginger soup for breakfast. Please have some, Lu Jiu said after sitting down beside Li Chenmo. Han Yuheng drove the tractor and said, then I won't be polite with you. Thank you, Jiu. She quickly took 2 steamed buns and handed them to him, and said at the same time, it should be us thanking you, Brother Han. Li Chenmo was very happy when he heard her say, we and us. For the first time, he felt that these 2 words sounded so pleasing to the ear. Seeing him smiling by himself, she leaned closer to him and asked in a low voice, what are you laughing at? He held her hand, put it in the pocket of his down jacket, and said, it's nothing. Sitting in the driver's seat and listening to the 2 whispering, Han Yuheng felt that the delicious steamed buns were suddenly not as delicious as before. When his wife finishes her confinement, he should take her to the town to have a look. After he finished eating the steamed buns, Lu Jiu handed him a cup of warm ginger soup. She made a simple water container out of bamboo. While it's not as good as a thermos flask, it retains heat for hours. After all, even if she had a thermos flask, she couldn't use it openly. Otherwise, people will be suspicious. On the way to the county seat, she felt that the weather in winter was very cold. Fortunately, she knitted a thick sweater for herself and Li Chenmo. Otherwise, traveling in this weather may freeze them. Recalling the situation when the educated youths arrived that day, she couldn't help thinking that living in this era is so difficult. She glanced at Li Chenmo and saw that he was wrapped up warmly and felt very satisfied. Han Yuheng didn't notice the sweater, hat and gloves Li Chenmo was wearing until they arrived in the county seat. Seeing this, he felt sore in his heart. It was nice to have someone to take care of him. After getting off the tractor, Lu Jiu said, Brother Han, it may take a while to finish. If you want to go back first, we will go back by ourselves. Han Yuheng looked at Lu Jiu's petite body and Li Chenmo's tall body and said, I'll be back in 2 hours. Your sister-in-law asked me to buy some New Year's goods. All right then. After Han Yuheng left, the 2 walked slowly towards the hospital. Since they didn't have crutches, she needed to help Li Chenmo walk. Despite a ban on couples behaving intimately in public, no one reported them to the officers due to the severity of his injuries. After arriving at the hospital, she helped him sit down in the waiting area and then went to register. While Li Chenmo was waiting for her, a young man sitting beside him suddenly said, Brother, you have a good wife. Li Chenmo turned to look at him before looking at Lu Jiu and said with a smile, Yes, she is very good. The young man looked at him enviously and said again, You are really blessed. I can see that your wife cares about you very much. Unlike me, my wife just told me to come alone, while she brought the children to her parents' house. When Li Chenmo heard his words and sighs, he didn't know how to react. In the end, he just sat there, listening to the young man complain about his wife while waiting for Lu Jiu to return. The more he listens to him, the more he feels that Lu Jiu is the best one and couldn't help feeling proud. After Lu Jiu registered, she saw a young man bid farewell to Li Chenmo with a familiarity. She looked at the young man's back and asked, "Is that your friend?" Li Chenmo chuckled and said, "No." She looked at him questioningly. Could a stranger be so enthusiastic? "What numbers did we get?" he asked. Hearing his question, she showed the paper in her hand and said, "We should go to the orthopedics department now." Because he was injured on his leg, Lu Jiu went to borrow a wheelchair for Li Chenmo. With the wheelchair, it's much easier for her and he doesn't have to put as much pressure on his legs. When they arrived at the consultation room, they found that there were not many people waiting. After waiting for a while, the nurse called them. The moment she pushed Li Chenmo into the consultation room, the doctor looked at them in surprise. He stood up and gave the military salute. After Li Chenmo returned the salute, the doctor asked, "Brother Lei, when did you come back?" "It's been a while," Li Chenmo said with a smile. The doctor looked at his leg with a flash of understanding in his eyes. He read Li Chenmo's medical records and sighed. After a while he said, "It's a pity that you retired due to injury." Both Li Chenmo and Lu Jiu could hear a trace of pity in the doctor's voice. "It's all right." The doctor heard the words, glanced at them and asked, "This is Jiu, this is my comrade in arms, Dr. Yu. This is my wife, Lu Jiu." Li Chenmo introduced them. Hearing that he called her his wife again, Lu Jiu didn't correct him this time because there were outsiders. So she nodded to the doctor, smiled and said, "Nice to meet you, Dr. Yu. We will bother you to help with my husband's checkup today." Dr. Yu was stunned after hearing what they said. When did the famous iron tree in their unit find a wife? Why does no one know he is married? If he already has a wife, what about the commander's daughter? Seeing the stunned person in front of him, Li Chenmo coughed lightly. When he came back to his senses, Dr. Yu quickly said, "Sister-in-law, don't worry. I will take good care of Brother Li." "Thank you." After a brief conversation, Dr. Yu checked Li Chenmo's injuries and then asked the nurse to take him for some tests. While waiting for Li Chenmo, Dr. Yu observed her from head to toe. Lu Jiu noticed his gaze and smiled at him. After a while, Dr. Yu asked, "Well, sister-in-law, can I ask you something?" "Of course, please ask." "How did you know Brother Lei?" he asked curiously. "We have known each other since we were young. I think it's been 17 years now," she said with a laugh after thinking for a while. "Ah, so long. The first day we met was when I was a month old." She recalled what her mother had said to the original owner before, and added, she also saw it in a dream. Dr. Yu was taken aback, opened his eyes wide and asked, "Sister-in-law, how old are you this year?" "I turned 17 2 months ago." Hearing her words, Dr. Yu gasped and blurted out, "I didn't expect Brother Li to find a wife, let alone a young wife. He is an old cow eating tender grass." Hearing his words, she smiled. In fact, in this era, the government has promulgated regulations that women can only marry when they are 18 years old. However, this regulation is difficult to implement. After all, many places are far away from the capital, and the common people still have an old-fashioned way of thinking. Some even got married as young as 15 years old and married to an old man. She can be said to be blessed because she married a handsome young man. Although there is a 7-year age gap between her and Li Chenmo, it is still acceptable. After all, her soul is the same age as his. Therefore, she did not regard him as an old man at all. When Lu Jiu was laughing, Li Chenmo had already returned and asked, "Who do you say is the old cow?" Dr. Yu was taken aback by his sudden words and hurriedly said, "It's my neighbor." Dr. Yu looked at the report and Li Chenmo suspiciously. He looked surprised when he read the reports. He compared the two sets of reports for a long time before looking at Li Chenmo from head to toe. Sensing his gaze, Lu Jiu asked, "Dr. Yu, is there something wrong with my husband's condition?" Although Li Chenmo felt that he was fine and almost recovered, when he saw Dr. Yu looking at him seriously, he couldn't help feeling nervous. "Is there something wrong with my injuries? You can tell us the truth." Despite his anxiety, he said calmly. After a while, Dr. Yu finally said, "According to the report, there is nothing wrong with your health." "Then why are you looking at me like that?" Li Chenmo asked, perplexed. "Brother Lei, can you tell me what medicine you use for your injuries, and what medicine you took during your recuperation?" Dr. Yu asked suddenly. Li Chenmo was taken aback by his question. and said truthfully, I used the medicine given by the military doctor before I came back, and I didn't take oral medicine. Hearing this, Dr. Yu touched his chin and said in a low voice, It's strange. The effect of these medicines should not be so good. In only 2 months, yet the bones and internal injuries have almost healed. It should take another 1 or 2 months to reach this stage. Lu Jiyu's heart tightened when she heard him muttering. The reason why Li Chenmo recovered so quickly was because of the water in her space, so of course his results won't be the same as everyone else's. As if thinking of something, Dr. Yu patted his thigh and asked, Brother Li, I found that your muscles are not as tense as other patients. Did you receive a massage? Yes, my wife massaged my sore muscles and gave me a herbal foot bath. Li Chenmo nodded. Then have you taken medicine or medicinal food? Dr. Yu asked again. Do bone soup and herbal chicken soup count? Li Chenmo asked him back. No wonder you recover faster than others. Sister-in-law really takes good care of you. With massage and good nutrition, your body will recover faster, Dr. Yu said with a hint of envy. Hearing his words, Lu Jiyu secretly heaved a sigh of relief, while Li Chenmo showed complacency. Seeing his proud look, Dr. Yu snorted and said, Your abdominal wound is almost healed, but you still can't lift heavy items or do heavy work, and you can't eat strong flavor food. As for your legs, you can walk with crutches for now. You will be fully recovered in a month. At that time, you will have to come back for another checkup. Dr. Yu, after I recover, will my legs? Li Chenmo's voice became smaller and smaller. Dr. Yu glanced at them and comforted him. Brother Li, don't worry, your leg will recover completely. Are you sure? Li Chenmo couldn't believe his ears and asked again. As long as you don't hurt your bones during recovery, your leg will fully recover, Dr. Yu said firmly. Hearing these words, Li Chenmo felt that his hanging heart had finally returned to its original place. Sensing his mood, Lu Jiyu held his hand and smiled at him. After thanking Dr. Yu, paying off the expenses, and renting a pair of crutches, they left the hospital. When they came out, there was still more than an hour before Han Yuheng came back, so they went to the Statron department store to buy some New Year's goods. Although it is called a department store, because it is located in the county seat, the building has only 3 floors, with a total area of 6,000 square meters. After entering the department store, Lu Jiyu found that there were very few customers and the department store seemed empty. As she walked slowly, she checked the prices of the goods. Department stores are 60% more expensive than state-run supply stores. Of course, while the price is higher, the quality is better. But compared with the things in her space, the quality is much worse. So she wasn't planning to buy anything, just looking around. Seeing that she was just looking at things and not buying anything, the store assistants give them a side glance and ignore them. As they passed a watch store, her eyes fell on a designer watch. Although the design is outdated for her, it is the latest in this era. Li Chenmo noticed that her eyes were fixed on the watch and said, I'll buy you one. Hearing this, Lu Jiyu shook her head and said, I don't like this design. Before he could speak, the store assistant snorted and said in a low voice with a hint of disdain, But who are you trying to trick? You better say you have no money. This is the latest design for this season. If you don't know fashion, you shouldn't open your mouth. Hearing this, Li Chenmo became angry and wanted to walk over, but Lu Jiyu grabbed his hand and said, Brother Chenmo, you don't need to waste your time on this kind of person. Although it is the latest design, it's tacky and overpriced. I prefer something simple. Burning with anger, Li Chenmo looked at her firm gaze and could only let go. Before leaving, he gave the store assistant another cold look. After walking for a while, he still couldn't help being angry. He looked at her relaxed expressions as if nothing had happened and asked, Aren't you angry? Why should I? She is just a stranger to me. Her words are worthless and have no effect on me. If I get angry with her, wouldn't it be my loss? She said casually. Why do you say that? He asked. If I'm angry with her, I will spend time thinking about her words, and anger will hurt my health. What's more, if I get angry, I will lose my mind and argue with her. Arguing will not give me any benefits and only make us lose face. What's more, if the situation gets out of control, it may alert the authorities and we are either fined or educated for disturbing public order. In the end, it is myself who suffers. So why should I be angry when the loss outweighs the benefit? It's not worth it, Lu Jiyu explained calmly. Li Chenmo felt that what she said made sense, so he stopped being angry. He glanced at her and smiled. He didn't expect that although she was young, she was calm and able to think rationally. Perhaps it was because she was not close to him before that she never showed her true self. So he always thought of her as a stubborn, proud, immature person. It seemed that he no longer remembered what she was like before. It was strange that he only remembered the current, her. Now he can even remember her most subtle expressions clearly, but why can't he remember her previous features? Lu Jiu found that he was lost in his thoughts, so she reached out and poked his arm and asked, "Brother Chenmo, what are you thinking?" When he came back to his senses, he smiled and said, "It's nothing. Do you still want to look around?" Lu Jiu looked at the surrounding shops and shook her head. "Let's go to the supply store. We need to buy some candy," she said after a moment of thought. Li Chenmo nodded, and the two left the department store. When they got to the state supply store, it was empty and the clerk was yawning. Seeing them coming, she continued to sit while giving them a side glance. Both Lu Jiu and Li Chenmo are used to the staff's attitude. After all, those who can work in a state-run supply store must have some connections. Not to mention their high salaries, they even get a thank you gift from customers occasionally. Therefore, it is normal for them to act proud. Lu Jiu scooped some Maltose candy, put it into 2 oiled paper bags, then went to the counter to weigh it and pay the bill. Seeing the quantity, Li Chenmo frowned and asked, "Jiu, should we buy more? I don't think it's enough." "Do you want to give it to some people as a gift?" Lu Jiu asked. Li Chenmo looked at her clueless expressions for a while and reminded her, "Shouldn't we prepare wedding candies?" Hearing what he said, she remembered that there were only 4 days left before their wedding. At first she wanted to buy some candies as covers for items in her space, because if she had a lot of these items but never bought them, people would be suspicious. As for the candy, there are many biscuits, milk candies and candied fruit in her space, so there is no need to buy. After all, a small bag of Maltose candy cost them 2 yuan. It was too expensive. "I've already bought the wedding candy, so we don't need to buy any more," Lu Jiu said after thinking for a while. Hearing that she had already prepared the wedding candies, Li Chenmo was delighted. It seems that she is also quite looking forward to their wedding day. When they returned to the hospital after buying candies, Han Yuheng was already waiting for them. Seeing them, he asked, "Do you want to go to the department store first?" "We just came back from there. It's getting late now, we should go back," Lu Jiu said. "All right." Han Yuheng first helped Li Chenmo onto the tractor, and only after she sat down did he start driving. After leaving the county seat, Lu Jiu opened the bamboo basket and took out a bamboo tube. She opened the lid, handed it to Li Chenmo and said, "Have some ginger soup first." She wiped their hands clean with a damp towel while he drank his soup. Then she opened the jar, split the steamed bun, scooped a spoonful of meat sauce and put it on the steamed bun. Then she handed it to Li Chenmo. She prepared a few more steamed buns, and then said to Han Yuheng, "Brother Han, eat some steamed buns to cushion your stomach." Since he was really hungry, Han Yuheng didn't refuse and took the steamed buns. They ate as they went back to the village. When they arrived at Li's house, the sun had already begun to set. While Father Li was helping Li Chenmo back to his room, Lu Jiu took out a small oil paper bag from the bamboo basket and handed it to Han Yuheng. Seeing the bag, he asked, "Jiu, what are you doing?" "Brother Han, this is a small thank you gift. I've taken a lot of your time, please accept it. Otherwise, I won't dare to go to you when I need help in the future." After hearing her words, Han Yuheng laughed and said, "After you say that, how can I refuse you? Then I will accept it. If you need help in the future, just tell me." "I will, thank you, Brother Han," she nodded. She waited until she could no longer see the tractor before heading inside. Little did she know, someone was watching her from behind the bushes. There was jealousy and anger in those cold eyes. Since it was almost dinner time, she went to the kitchen to cook a simple dinner for Li Chenmo and his father, and then went home. As soon as she left Li's house, someone followed her. Sensing someone behind her, Lu Jiu stopped and turned around, but when she turned around, there was no one there. Sensing something was wrong, she quickened her pace and looked at her back once in a while. Hearing the footsteps behind her getting closer, cold sweat broke out on her back and forehead. Just when Lu Jiu thought that the person following her would catch her the next moment, she saw her second brother. "Second brother," she suddenly yelled, startling Lu Cheng. He turned to look at her, patting his chest. Seeing her pale face, he was taken aback and asked worriedly, "Jiu, what's wrong?" Lu Jiu turned her head and found that there was no one behind her. She took a deep breath, calmed down and said, "It's nothing, I just want to call you. Let's go back." Lu Cheng noticed her strangeness and squinted his eyes to look at the surrounding environment. After confirming that there was nothing wrong, he patted her on the back and said, "Let's go." Not long after they left, a person walked out from behind the wall, cursed in a low voice, and left. When they entered the house, her sisters-in-law had just finished preparing dinner. and the whole family was sitting around the table. When Mother Lu saw them coming back, she said, "Go wash your hands and eat." Lu Jiu nodded, went to the kitchen to put the bamboo basket away, washed her hands and face, and sat next to her second sister-in-law. When she saw 2 extra bowls on the table, she asked, "Why are there 2 extra bowls? Will someone join us later?" Hearing her question, no one spoke. Wang Muxiao approached her and said in a low voice, "Jiu, I prepared these bowls in case those educated youths want to eat dinner." Lu Jiu was taken aback by her words. She knew very well how stingy her second sister-in-law was. Does the sun rise from the west today? Why is she suddenly so generous, willing to share food with strangers? Wang Muxiao didn't know what she was thinking and said, "When we were eating dumplings yesterday, they asked for a bowl. At first our mother didn't agree because the raw materials are very precious. But after Zyro Yiking offered to pay for the ingredients, we reluctantly agreed to give her a bowl." Lu Jiu turned her head and looked at Wang Muxiao with wide eyes and asked in a low voice, "So generous?" Hearing her words, Wang Muxiao waved her hands and said, "You don't know, she is not only generous but also very straightforward. She asked how much it was, and I just casually said 5 yuan. The next moment, she really gave the money without saying a word. 5 yuan for a bowl of dumplings. The ingredients are not that expensive, aren't they overpriced?" Lu Jiu was surprised by Wang Muxiao's appetite. One dares to take, another dares to give. Wang Muxiao clicked her tongue and said, "Where is it overpriced? Herbal medicines such as ginseng are very precious, not to mention meat, eggs and fresh vegetables. At this time, where do you go to find fresh vegetables? If not your fiancé cares about you and is filial to our parents, how can we eat those things?" Lu Jiu was stunned by her words. She did miss that point. During winter, most people can only eat pickled vegetables, not to mention fresh vegetables. Even eggs and fish are hard to find. It seems that she must be more careful next time. After Father Lu was seated, the Lu family began to eat. Since it is her sister-in-law who cooks, the food is not as delicious as usual. For dinner, there are coarse-grain porridge, meat sauce, and coarse-grain pancakes. Fortunately, she makes really good meat sauce. When they eat pancakes, they spread a thin layer of meat sauce on top. Just as Wang Muxiao expected, Zyro Yiking and Pan Magia walked out of the room. They thought they could have another delicious meal, and they were already salivating, but when they saw the food, their hearts sank. Why is the food different from yesterday? Could it be that those foods were really given to them by their future son-in-law, rather than bought by themselves? Lu Jiu glanced at them but said nothing, and continued to eat. After a while, Zyro Yiking asked, "Sister-in-law, can I have a bowl of porridge and a pancake?" "Of course, because we only use ordinary ingredients tonight. You just need to give us 50 cents for a bowl of porridge and a pancake," Wang Muxiao said with a broad smile. Although it was only 50 cents, it was still expensive compared to the amount of food they got in exchange. Because they use whole grains, the ingredients for a bowl of porridge and a pancake should only cost about 10 to 20 cents. But even if she knew the price was too high, she could only agree to her price. After all, it was already the end of the year, and food was in short supply. She was lucky enough to get some food. Although she is stingy, Wang Muxiao is still reasonable. So when she took a pancake for Zyro Yiking, she scooped half a spoonful of meat sauce and spread it thinly on the pancake. With meat sauce, the aroma and taste of food are greatly increased. Moreover, the water they use for cooking comes from Lu Jiu's space. Therefore, although it is only coarse-grain porridge, the taste is comparable to that of white rice porridge. She handed the food to Zyro Yiking, took the money, and continued to eat. Looking at the porridge with more water than rice and pancakes smaller than a palm, Pan Magia hesitated. When she went out for a walk this morning, she met some educated youths who had lived in this village for more than 2 years. They said that even if they earn work points every year and get a share of food and meat, it is only enough to make them half full. They also need to ration food carefully in case there is nothing left before distribution day. Hearing this, Pan Magia regretted coming to this place. She looked at Zyro Yiking, who was eating without even giving her a glance. She looked at her resentfully. After all, if Zyro Yiking hadn't begged her to accompany her, she would never have come to this place. Since she dragged her down, shouldn't she buy some food for her? No one noticed Pan Magia's resentment, but Lu Jiu looked at the two with interest. According to the plot, this Pan Magia is a through-and-through canon fodder. She is straightforward, simple-minded, and deeply loyal. Despite her short-tempered and outspoken personality, she has a righteous and kind heart. At the beginning of the novel, whenever the heroine makes trouble, she always cleans the mess for her. Although she found something was wrong, she still chose to believe in the heroine again and again. When the heroine went to the black market to sell food and was almost caught by the authorities, it was she who saved her. But because of this, she was arrested instead and was sent to prison, while the heroine lived a happy life. Taking advantage of her illness in prison, she wrote a letter to ask the heroine to meet for the last time, but the heroine flatly declined. In the end, she died with her eyes open, full of remorse and resentment. Thinking of this, Lu Jiu felt pity for Pan Magia. She was not yet 25 years old when she died. Seeing her clutching her thin purse tightly, Lu Jiu sighed. She scooped up a bowl of porridge, took a pancake, smeared it with meat sauce, and handed it to her. Pan Magia was stunned when she saw the food and said, "I don't want food, I'm not hungry." "Even if you're not hungry, you should eat a little. Otherwise, you will get sick and we need to find a doctor for you. It's too troublesome," Lu Jiu said as she stuffed the food into Pan Magia's hand. After finishing speaking, she turned and continued to eat. Seeing this, the members of the Lu family didn't say anything. They were actually able to give her some food. The reason is that the Lu family doesn't like the arrogance of educated youths, so they refuse to give them free meals. Seeing this, Zyro Yiking gritted her teeth. "This Lu Jiu is really hateful. She insisted that I pay for the meal, but she gave that stupid girl free food. Is she making trouble for me on purpose?" While Zyro Yiking was angry, Pan Magia was very grateful. She felt that Miss Lu was different from what her friend had said before. She is not an arrogant person, nor is she a bad person. Then, why does Zyro Yiking seem to dislike her so much? After eating, Lu Jiu cleared the table and went to wash the dishes. Since it is her sister-in-law who cooks, it is only natural for her to wash the dishes. When she filled the kitchen tank with water from the space, she found that the chickens in the chicken coop were not as lively as usual. She went to look and found that they were almost frozen due to the cold weather. Although they used some hay to keep out the cold wind, the chickens hadn't laid eggs for several days. Thinking of the feed in her space, she took out a bag of chicken feed and poured it on the chicken feeder. She also uses the water in her space as drinking water for the chickens. When Lu Jiu finished filling the feed and water for the chickens, she spotted someone sneaking around the newly dug pond. Because it was dark where she was standing, that person didn't seem to notice her. She narrowed her eyes, and when that person walked out of the backyard, she finally saw that person's face under the moonlight. Eldest sister-in-law, what is she doing secretly at this time? Lu Jiu was shocked when she saw Chen Anwen sneaking out of the house like a thief. She was a little curious and followed behind her. If she did something that was sorry to her elder brother, Lu Jiu would tell her elder brother. They were walking on the path close to the mountain, so no one noticed them. After walking for almost half an hour, she saw Chen Anwen walk into a cowshed. Recalling the small information in the novel, Lu Jiu finally understood. Now that there are two strangers living in the house, Chen Anwen can no longer visit those wicked people as often as before. In order to avoid Zyro Yiking and Pan Magia, she could only sneak out after everyone fell asleep. Not long after, she saw Chen Anwen walking out with a book and smiling. She ducked behind a tree as she approached. Seeing her sister-in-law leave, she walked towards the cowshed. Before entering, the smell was already coming to her nostrils, and she couldn't help pinching her nose. She heard muffled conversations and occasional coughing from inside. As soon as she entered the cowshed, she was stunned. Seeing someone coming, the old men who were eating pancakes were stunned. They quickly hid the pancakes in their hands and looked at her warily. Looking at their thin bodies, haggard faces, and tattered clothes, Lu Jiu felt like she had been punched hard in the stomach. She always had a soft spot for children and the elderly. Looking at them, she thought of her grandparents. When she came back to her senses, she said hoarsely, "Grandpas, my name is Lu Jiu, and that person just now was my sister-in-law. I'm sorry to frighten you, but I mean no harm." While they were looking at her face, she quietly took out a bamboo basket from her space while blocking their view using her body. The lights were dim, and no one noticed the sudden appearance of the bamboo basket. She showed the bamboo basket to them and said, "I brought you some clothes and medicine." After a while, an old man swallowed the pancake in his mouth and asked, "Are you really Zyro's sister-in-law?" Lu Jiu nodded and said, "If you don't believe me, you can ask my sister-in-law next time she comes." The old people looked at each other, and one of them said, "Come in." Lu Jiu walked up to them and sat opposite them. Seeing that there was no look of disdain in her eyes, they were relieved. After putting the basket down, she opened the lid and used it as a cover to retrieve items from her space. She first took out the sweaters, gloves, socks, and stomach warmers that were meant for her family. Since these people are in desperate need, she gives them first, and then makes another one for her family. When the old people saw the new clothes, they were shocked. "Grandpas, thank you for teaching my nephew. I made this for you, try it out and see if it fits." Lu Jiu handed the things over as she spoke. They hold the sweater and feel the soft, warm fleece. While they don't want to take things from strangers, they do need it badly. It's been so cold recently that their lungs hurt when they breathe. What's more, their bodies are already weak and full of injuries. Whenever the weather turns cold, they experience pain in their joints and bones. So they just thanked her, took off their clothes quickly, and then put on new clothes before wearing their old, tattered clothes. They hide the clothes inside so no one will notice. While they were busy putting on sweaters, Lu Jiu took out a jar of cold medicine and a few bamboo tubes. She made a lot of ginger soup this morning, so there is some left. This is cold medicine ginger soup. Drink it while it's hot to drive away the cold. The old men gave her a complicated look before taking the medicine and ginger soup. Seeing that they didn't refuse, Lu Jiu smiled and said, "Grandpa, I can't stay too long and I have to go now. I'll come back in a few days." After saying this, she got up and left. Before leaving the cowshed, she heard the old man say, "Thank you, little girl." She turned to look at him and said, "You're welcome, Grandpa." Back in her room, Lu Jiu locked the door and entered her space. She took a hot bath first and then continued to make new clothes for Li Chenmo. While she can't make complex patterns, making simple ones is no problem for her. What's more, her sewing machine was owned by her in her previous life, not a traditional sewing machine, so it's faster and easier. She didn't know how many days she had been in her space. After she finished making 2 sets of clothes for Li Chenmo, she also made one for herself and each for her family. After all, she wants to wear new clothes on her wedding day. When she gets tired, she sleeps and eats in her own space and wakes up to continue. Lu Jiu leaves the space after she has prepared clothes and sweaters for her family. She felt that she had stayed in space for a long time, but when she came out, it was still dark. It seemed that she had only been in her own space for 4 or 5 hours. It seemed like a minute outside equaled an hour in her space. Since it was still dark, she lay in bed and slept for a while. Hearing the crowing of the rooster, Lu Jiu woke up and went to the backyard to wash up and prepare breakfast. But after she washed her face, she saw that her mother and sister-in-law had woken up. She was startled. Usually they don't get up so early. "Mother, sister-in-law, why do you get up so early?" Lu Jiu asked with surprise. Seeing her bewildered face, Mother Lu smiled and said, "Have you forgotten what day it is today?" "Isn't it the 22nd of 12 months?" she asked again. "This child you will marry in 3 days. Today is the day when the groom's family comes to send over the betrothal gift. The conversation will only be done at noon, so we need to prepare a meal for them," Mother Lu said. She didn't understand until she heard Mother Lu's words. The wedding rules in this world are different from her previous world. What's more, she didn't even have a boyfriend before, and it's normal for her to know nothing about it. But after she found out, she should let the Li family have a good meal. So she pretended that she had really forgotten and said, "If Mother hadn't reminded me, I would have really forgotten. Since you're here, I'll leave this matter to you," Mother Lu said before leaving with Chen Anwen and Wang Muxeo. Okay. Lu Jiu didn't think much about it, but generally speaking, meals served at the betrothal gift were used to show off the bride's cooking skills. The stronger the girl's skills, the more face she and her family will have, because when the man's family sends the betrothal gift, they also invite the matchmaker and the elders of the village. Thinking that today could be said to be the first meal the 2 families had together, Lu Jiu went all out and prepared a sumptuous meal. When the sun rose to the height of 3 poles, Father Li and Li Chenmo came with Li Chen's, Zhang Dongmei, several elders from the village and Han Yuheng. When they came, they brought not only a pair of wild geese, 16 oranges, 2 bottles of baijiu, 2 cans of tea, 2 bags of peanuts, 2 bags of red dates, 2 pairs of leather shoes, but also 2 sets of new clothes. Along with the clothes, they also brought a radio, which was a very rare and valuable item in this era. Because of their big fanfare, everyone knew that the Li family was sending a betrothal gift to the Lu family, and the villagers gathered outside their houses to watch. Mother Lu saw the villagers gathered around the door of her house, so she had to go to the kitchen to take out some snacks to share the joy with them. Seeing her mother coming, Lu Jiu asked, "Mother, why are you here? Brother Chenmo and the others have already arrived." Mother Lu looked at the ingredients in the kitchen and saw meat, fish, vegetables, and even chicken. Although she felt that the meal didn't need to be so sumptuous, she didn't say anything. The villagers are also coming to join the fun, so Mother came to get some dried nuts and melon seeds to share with them. Mother Lu rummaged through the cabinet while talking. Seeing that there was only a small bag of melon seeds in the cabinet, Lu Jiu said, "Mother, Brother Chenmo and I already bought them yesterday. I'll go to my room to get them." Hearing her words, Mother Lu nodded. She didn't expect them to even prepare these in advance. Thinking of this, she was even more satisfied with Li Chenmo. For a daughter who likes to be in a daze, she needs someone who is meticulous and can take care of her. If Lu Jiu wanted to enter her room, she had to go through the living room. She thought it was Lee Chenmo and his family at most. But when she walked into the living room and saw so many people sitting inside, her eyes widened in surprise. When everyone saw her, they all smiled and looked at her and Lee Chenmo with teasing gazes. Seeing their teasing eyes, Lu Jiu felt her scalp go numb. She nodded to them and walked quickly into her room with a lowered head. After closing the door, she took out several bags of fruit-flavored candies from her space, tore open the wrappers, and put them in a large jar. She also took out the Maltose candy she bought yesterday. In addition to candies, she also took out a kilogram of sunflower seeds and a kilogram of melon seeds. She brushed her hair quickly, left the room, and went to the kitchen. Mother Lu saw what she was holding in her hand and asked, "Why do you buy so much?" Brother Chenmo said, "This is a happy occasion, which is only once in a lifetime, so it's okay to buy more and share the happiness. If there are leftovers, we can use them as wedding candies," Lu Jiu said calmly. Because she knew that her family would not ask Lee Chenmo such trivial matters, so every time they asked, she used him as a shield. It's very convenient for her. Before Mother Lu left the kitchen, Lu Jiu asked, "Mother, have you served tea to the guests?" "We just serve them with hot water," Mother Lu said. "It is normal for villagers to serve hot water to the guests. After all, tea is expensive and rare. I'll prepare some tea and snacks for the guests. It's cold today and they might not have eaten breakfast before coming." When Mother Lu heard her words, she knew that she was worried about a certain someone and used the excuse of a guest. Mother Lu just glanced at her with smiling eyes and said, "Then we will do as you say." After Mother Lu left the kitchen, Lu Jiu took out several bottles of fresh milk and heated it up together with water in a large pot before adding some tea leaves and salt. This drink is a Mongolian traditional drink used to greet guests. She once traveled to Mongolia and tried it. After that, she makes it occasionally because she likes the taste. She makes the drink with black tea and whole milk. When ready, she strains it and pours it into another pot. As soon as Lu Jiu took out 2 baskets of butter cookies she made earlier from the space, Wang Muxiao entered the kitchen. She gasped when she saw the pot of milk tea and the 2 baskets of biscuits. "Jiu today is only sending a betrothal gift. If you do it so extravagantly, what will we do on your wedding day?" she asked worriedly. Hearing her words, Lu Jiu smiled and said, "Second sister-in-law, don't worry. Brother Chenmo has already prepared the ingredients. It's just that on the day of the wedding, I will need to ask my sister-in-law to help me. Don't worry about it. I've invited my friends, and everyone is happy to help," Wang Muxiao said with a wave of her hand. Thinking of the purpose of her visit, she said quickly, "Okay, Mother asked me to bring the drink over. We'll talk later." After she took out the cup and biscuits, she came back to get milk tea. When she took out the biscuits, everyone was surprised and praised the Lu family for their generosity. But when she brought a big pot of milk tea, even Lee Chenmo was stunned. In this era, milk was very rare. Even if you have money, you may not be able to buy it. So when Wang Muxiao brought a big pot of milk, everyone's eyes were on it, especially Zyro Yiking and Pan Magia. The Lu family thought it was prepared by Lee Chenmo, while the Lee family and others thought it was prepared by the Lu family, so no one asked about the milk. Seeing that the Lu family has been busy since the morning, Zyro Yiking felt something was wrong. So when Pan Magia asked her out, she refused. Since she didn't want to go out, Pan Magia also stayed in the room, because she had no other friends except Zyro Yiking in this village. When the Lee family arrived, both of them were surprised. Under normal circumstances, marriage is a private matter, so they, as outsiders, should either leave home for a period of time or stay in their own rooms when the Lee family sends the betrothal gift. However, when Zyro Yiking saw Lee Chenmo walking over with crutches, she couldn't take her eyes off him at all. Her heart was beating fast and her face was flushed. Such a handsome man is indeed the hero, and only she is qualified to stand by his side. When she saw what the Lee family had brought, she was so jealous that she almost broke her nails from clenching her fist too tightly. In order to attract Lee Chenmo's attention, she had the cheek to come to the living room and sit with them. Mother Lu frowned when she saw her. Not to mention she was an outsider, as an unmarried girl, she should not come to the living room. But today is an important day, and she doesn't want it to look bad. That's why when Zyro Yiking sat down, she didn't say anything. Seeing Zyro Yiking boldly sitting with them in the living room, Pan Magia kept blinking to hint at her, but she didn't know what happened to her friend recently. Not only has her personality changed, but she even behaves shamelessly and sometimes even arrogantly. Zyro Yiking and Pan Magia used to be very good friends since they were young, but 3 months ago, Pan Magia began to notice that Zyro Yiking sometimes looked at her coldly, even with a hint of disdain. Now, seeing her sitting so close to someone else's husband-to-be gave her mixed emotions. She frowned and looked at Zyro Yiking's back with disagreement. As soon as Wang Muxiao sat down, she noticed some small movements of Zyro Yiking. Unlike her mother-in-law and Chen Anwen, she never thinks before doing something. Therefore, when she poured the milk tea for the guests, she did not give it to Zyro Yiking. Seeing that Wang Muxiao didn't give her a drink, Zyro Yiking asked, "Sister-in-law, can you give me a glass?" Wang Muxiao, acting as if startled, turned her head to look at Zyro Yiking, opened her eyes wide and said with surprise, "Miss Zyro, what are you doing here? How can you listen to other people's private affairs so shamelessly? Also, why are you sitting so close to my family's son-in-law?" If she didn't mention it, no one would notice how close Zyro Yiking's sitting position is to Li Chenmo's. But with Wang Muxiao's reminder, everyone looked at her, only to see that she was only a step behind him. It looks like she's the bride-to-be instead of Lu Jiyu, who was busy in the kitchen. In an instant, everyone's eyes on her changed, especially Father Li Chen's, Father Lu Han, Lu Cheng, and Han Yuheng. On the day of their arrival at their production team, Mother Lu said that she was not allowed to get close to her son, but today, she actually sat so close to her son-in-law. Han Yuheng felt that his face was thrown to the ground, as he kept guaranteeing Mother Lu that the educated youth would not be so shameless. "Miss Zyro, you should leave for now. After all, this is a private matter, and you are an outsider," he said coldly, with a hint of warning. Hearing what they said, Zyro Yiking's face suddenly turned pale and then turned red again. Her eyes turned red and misty, as if she had been bullied. She stood up, lowered her head, bit her lips and said, "I don't mean anything else. I just want to participate in this happy moment." Before she could continue talking, Wang Muxiao exclaimed, "Oh, if you want to share happiness, just say so. There's no need to cry over such a trivial matter." Lu Cheng looked at his wife with questioning eyes. He didn't know what crazy thing his wife would do next, so he kept pulling at the hem of her clothes to stop her. But instead of stopping, his hand was slapped away by his wife. Wang Muxiao took a cup and poured milk tea into it. After that, she grabbed a handful of melon seeds and walked towards Zyro Yiking. She handed her the milk tea and the melon seeds. Zyro Yiking didn't know what she wanted, so she could only accept the cup and melon seeds. Afterward, Wang Muxiao said, "Now, I've given you the drinks and melon seeds. Miss Zyro, can you leave my home for a while? We have a very important matter to discuss with our in-laws." While speaking, Wang Muxiao still didn't forget to pull Zyro Yiking up and walked to the door while pushing her. Everyone saw the situation but said nothing. After all, what she did was not wrong. Pan Meijia watched this scene with her mouth wide open. It was the first time she met someone who could drive people out of the house so smoothly. She was afraid that she would be kicked out too, so she left on her own initiative. After the two left the house, Wang Muxiao returned to her seat and said with a smile, "Let the elders and team leader Hansi a joke, that Miss Zyro is quite shameless, very stubborn and likes to interfere in other people's private affairs. Where did we stop just now? Ah yes, about the dowry." Hearing her talk about the dowry, they recalled their previous conversation and continued their discussion. Wang Muxiao glanced at Zyro Yiking, who was standing in the front yard with an aggrieved look, and snorted. She had seen so many vixens, so she naturally knew how to deal with them. She saw through her trick at a glance. How dare she covet her family's son-in-law? Since she ate so much meat bought by Jiyu, she will not let anyone snatch this good man away from her sister-in-law. Li Chenmo didn't know who Zyro Yiking was, so he didn't expect her, as a stranger, to be so shameless. Fortunately, the second sister-in-law handled the matter very well. Otherwise, if his wife misunderstands, isn't he the one who suffers? Unknowingly, the topic of betrothal gifts and dowry finally concluded after several hours. Seeing that it was already lunchtime, Father Lu said, "It's almost lunchtime, and the family is already preparing meals. Everyone, please stay and have a meal before leaving." Since it is custom, no one refused the meal and chatted while waiting for the meal to be served. When Mother Lu, Chen Anwen, and Wang Muxiao entered the kitchen, Lu Jiyu had just finished the last dish. "Jiyu, is everything ready? It's time for lunch," Mother Lu asked. "Yes, we can eat now. I'll wash my face first and change my clothes," Lu Jiyu said while wiping the sweat from her forehead. "You just go, we will send the food to the living room," Chen Anwen said with a smile. "All right." When she walked into the living room, Li Chenmo saw that her face was flushed and she was sweating profusely. Seeing her busy all morning, he felt a pain in his heart and couldn't help but look at her a few more times. He's only seen her a few times since he's been here, and he misses her a lot. Noticing Li Chenmo's scorching eyes following Lu Jiyu, Li Chen's poked his waist and said in a low voice, "You control yourself a little bit. Her parents and brothers are watching." Hearing what Li Chen's had said, Li Chenmo turned around and found that everyone was looking at him. He coughed to hide his embarrassment while everyone just smiled. Not long after, Chen Anwen and Wang Muxiao brought out the food. When the dishes were served on the table, everyone was surprised again. In addition to the fragrant white rice, there are also grilled chicken, steamed fish, braised pork, beef bone soup, stir-fried vegetables, scallion pancakes, mapo tofu, and steamed buns. When Lu Jiu changed her clothes and came out, Li Chenmo looked at her and saw that she sat beside him so naturally. He couldn't help being overjoyed and stretched out his hand to hold her hand under the table. Seeing that everyone's eyes were focused on the dining table, he moved closer and said in a low voice, "Thanks for your hard work." Lu Jiu shook her head and said, "It's nothing, I'm used to it." He thought she was used to cooking since she was a child, but what she meant was that she had been used to cooking all day during her internship in her previous life. This little thing is nothing to her. She can cook for 10 hours without a break. Seeing that everyone was getting impatient, Father Lu smiled and said, "Everyone, please have a try. Today's dishes are made by Jiu." After he finished speaking, Father Lu moved his chopsticks, followed by the elders and Han Yuheng. After they took their first bite, others followed suit. Lu Jiu took Li Chenmo's bowl, filled it with bone soup, took another bowl and filled it with rice. "Drink the soup first." As she reminded him, she kept adding dishes to his bowl. Li Chenmo looked at his bowl while drinking the soup. The food in the bowl kept piling up. When there was no room in the bowl anymore, Lu Jiu used a plate and took a little bit of every dish before putting it in front of him. Seeing this, an elder teased, "It seems that Xiaoromo's married life will be very blessed." Father Li was delighted and said with a smile, "Isn't that so? Xiaoru has already run to our house to take care of my third son right after her fever subsides. As the third son's father, I also bask in his blessing." Hearing others praise their daughter, Father Lu and Mother Lu were very happy. The elders and in-laws praised her too much. "This girl can only do housework and can't work in the fields. I'm afraid she will burden my son-in-law in the future," Mother Lu said with a smile. Li Chenmo's eyes lit up when he heard the word son-in-law coming from Mother Lu, and said, "Don't worry, Mother, I promise that I will never let Jiu suffer. What she has now, she will have after she marries me. What she doesn't have, I will also give her after marriage." Lu Jiu glanced at him, calling her mother so smoothly. She didn't know that this simple word could make her heart beat wildly. She lowered her head and ate her food silently. Seeing that the tips of her ears were red, Li Chenmo smiled and continued to eat. An hour later, the meal was over, and everyone was bloated from overeating. When seeing off the guests, Mother Lu did not forget to give them some snacks to bring back, which made them even more satisfied. Unlike other guests, Li Chenmo stayed and chatted with Lu Jiu in the front yard for several hours before leaving. Not long after he left Lu's house, Pan Magia came back with a sullen Xiao Yiking. Seeing them, Lu Jiu asked, "Do you want to eat? There is still some food in the kitchen." Hearing her words, Xiao Yiking's face became even more gloomy. She snorted and walked towards the house. When she walks past Lu Jiu, she wants to bump into her on purpose. But before she hit her, Lu Jiu dodged to the side, causing Xiao Yiking to lose her balance and almost flatten her face. Losing her balance, Xiao Yiking waved her hand in the air embarrassingly to avoid falling to the ground. After she managed to stabilize herself, she gave Lu Jiu a vicious look and walked quickly toward her room. Pan Magia looked at her back while frowning deeply. When she went out just now, she heard Xiao Yiking say a lot of bad things about Lu Jiu. Hearing her complaints, she even thought that Xiao Yiking was the wife, who caught both Lu Jiu and Li Chenmo in their extramarital affair. But they obviously only came yesterday. How could Xiao Yiking know so much about Lu Jiu and her fiancé? Now seeing her friend being so rude and even trying to hurt Lu Jiu, Pan Magia almost thought that Xiao Yiking was another person pretending to be her friend. There was no way her friend would do such a thing. Xiao Yiking was brought up by her grandparents when she was a child. Her etiquette and education were very strict. She is known as a gentle and generous girl in the capital. Seeing Pan Magia standing there while frowning deeply, Lu Jiu's eyes flashed. Maybe she can change the future of this girl. She thought for a while and asked, "Miss Pan, do you want dinner? There is still some food in the kitchen." Because of her question, Pan Magia pulled out of her contemplation and said, "I won't eat today. I don't have much money with me, so." Lu Jiu smiled and said, "Today is my happy event, so you don't need to pay for the meal. I will treat you to dinner." Hearing that she could eat for free, Pan Magia's eyes lit up, and she asked with a smile, "Really?" "Yeah, why should I lie to you? Let's go, I'll help you warm up the food," Lu Jiu said, pulling her to the kitchen. Panmagia was sitting on a low stool drinking milk tea while Lu Jiu warmed up the dishes. She looked at Lu Jiu's back and thought that she was a good person. It seems that making friends with her is not a bad thing. Not to mention that she is very beautiful, she is also very kind and generous. But most importantly, her cooking is really delicious. Not long after, Lu Jiu took a small table and put the dishes on it. She scooped up a bowl of white rice, handed it to Panmagia and said, "Come, eat while it's hot." After speaking, she took another low stool, sat opposite Panmagia, and snacked on the sunflower seeds. Seeing her sitting so casually, Panmagia looked at the food on the table, swallowed and said, "Then I won't be polite, thank you for the food." Enjoy your meal." Panmagia was a little reserved at first, so she took a small bite. But after the first bite, all cautions were thrown behind her as she concentrated on wolfing down her food. She didn't even have time to chat with Lu Jiu. Because she was so hungry, she ate so fast that she choked on her food. Cough, cough, cough. Seeing Panmagia beating her chest while coughing, Lu Jiu was startled and quickly handed her a cup of milk tea. Panmagia took the cup, drank a few big gulps before she heaved a sigh of relief. "Eat slowly, no one will grab your food," Lu Jiu shook her head and said amusedly. Suddenly, Panmagia's eyes turned red, and a few tears rolled down from the corners of her eyes. Lu Jiu was stunned by the change in her mood. She even suspected that this girl might be suffering from bipolar disorder because of her high mood swings. Seeing her sobbing while chewing, she sighed and walked over to pat her on the back to comfort her. "Eat if you want to eat, don't cry while you eat, otherwise you will choke again." "I'm sorry," Panmagia sobbed. "What are you sorry for?" Lu Jiu asked confusedly. "At first I thought you were a bad person, so I said those rude things to you and your family. Sorry, I shouldn't just listen to one-sided words." Lu Jiu raised her eyebrows and asked, "Who spoke ill of me and my family?" This time, Panmagia didn't say anything and just shook her head. Since she didn't want to tell her, Lu Jiu didn't intend to force her to. After all, from her words, she guessed that the heroine must have said something bad about her. However, they have no hatred as they just met yesterday. Why does the heroine seem to harbor a deep grudge against her? After she calmed down, Panmagia continued to eat, while Lu Jiu sat there to accompany her. When she finished eating, the plates and bowls were clean, not even a drop of soup was left. Lu Jiu even felt that the tableware was so clean that there was no need to wash it. Panmagia patted her swollen stomach and burped again. When she came back to her senses, she looked at the table and Lu Jiu in embarrassment. The food just now was so delicious that she forgot to hold back and ate everything. Now that she thinks about it, she ate meat, fish, eggs, beef, and even fresh vegetables, which must have cost a lot of money. Feeling embarrassed, she said, "Sister Lu, I will wash the dishes. You should go to rest." Lu Jiu was really tired, so she agreed. After locking the kitchen, she went back to her room, while Panmagia went to the backyard to wash the dishes. Lu Jiu gave her a bucket of hot water so that she didn't have to wash the dishes in cold water. While Panmagia was washing the dishes, Zyro Yiking walked to the backyard and looked at her coldly. Panmagia didn't know that someone was staring at her, and she was humming a song while washing. "Are you so happy to be someone else's servant?" Panmagia was taken aback by Zyro Yiking's words. She patted her chest and turned around. Because of the light behind Zyro Yiking, she didn't notice her cold eyes, which were full of disdain and hatred. "Yiking, why don't you make a sound when you walk? I was almost scared to death by you," Panmagia asked and continued to wash the dishes. "Are you speaking ill of me to her just now?" Hearing her question, Panmagia frowned and stopped washing the cutlery. She stood up, turned to look at her and asked, "Yiking, what do you mean? Am I a person who speaks ill of others behind their backs?" "Aren't you? Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. With just one free meal, you'll lick her shoes like a good dog. Who knows what you'll do next?" Zyro Yiking sneered. When Panmagia heard this, she was stunned. When she finally sorted out Zyro Yiking's words, she couldn't believe that the person who said these hurtful words was her friend of more than 10 years. She opened and closed her mouth several times, but nothing came out. Seeing her pale face, Zyro Yiking became even more sure that Panmagia must be speaking ill of her behind her back. Her anger intensified when she guessed what she must have said to Lu Jiu. She couldn't accept that someone looked down on her, so she glared at Panmagia and threatened, "Panmagia, you'd better remember that your family can live a comfortable life because of my father's help. If you dare to betray me, I will tell my father to kick your father out of the factory. When the time comes, let's see how your family lives." She snorted, turned around and walked towards her room, leaving behind Panmagia with a stunned expression. When she was alone, Panmagia's knees went limp and sat on the icy ground blankly. Tears streamed down her face. She couldn't believe her ears just now. She thought they were best friends, but it turned out that she was that kind of person in Zyro Yiking's mind. The one who always protected her when she was bullied by the other kids, the one who always comforted her and helped her when she was in trouble, that Zyro Yiking, she is gone. When this thought flashed through her mind, Pan Magia burst into tears. For some reason, she always felt that her best friend was long gone. The person who said this was not the Zyro Yiking she knew. Back in her room, Lu Jiu didn't know what happened in the backyard. After locking the door, she entered her space, took a hot shower, and went to the warehouse to get some materials to make more maltose candy. The candy she gave to Mother Lu this morning has been distributed to the villagers and given to the elders in the village and Han Yuheng. While her space can produce modern-type candies, canned fruit, and other modern products, it cannot produce maltose candy. As for the milk candy, because the products of QQ Farm are made according to the popular items in her previous life, they are also included in the items that can be produced in her space. Milk candy has been one of the most popular candies for decades. For her wedding sweets, Lu Jiu wanted to make peanut and sesame malt candies. Not only is it delicious, but it can also be packed in a small paper bag with some milk candies and fruit candies. When the wedding candy is sent out, it will give the Lu and Li family a lot of face. After thinking about it, she giggled and hurried to prepare the candy. It took her several hours to finally make the maltose candy. After she was done, she took another shower, then left her space and went to bed. She was so tired that as soon as her head touched the pillow, she fell asleep. The next day before dawn, Lu Jiu woke up in a daze. Her body clock is so precise that she wakes up at the same time every day. As soon as she walked out of the room, she heard the sound of sweeping the floor from the front yard. She walked to the door curiously and saw that Pan Magia was sweeping the front yard, while blowing on her palms from time to time. Lu Jiu was taken aback and asked, "Miss Pan, what are you doing here so early in the morning? It's not yet dawn." Hearing her voice, Pan Magia turned her head and looked at her. "Good morning, Miss Lu. I couldn't sleep, so I came out to help clean the front yard," Pan Magia said with a smile. "You don't need to do this, my brother will do it later. The weather has been very cold recently, so come in quickly, don't catch a cold," Lu Jiu said. "It's okay, I'm almost done. Although the rent is paid by the production team, I will live here for 2 months after all, so I should help your family with some work," Pan Magia said with a smile and continued to clean the front yard. Lu Jiu was taken aback by her words. Can a free meal really change a person's personality overnight? Since Pan Magia couldn't be persuaded, Lu Jiu didn't bother anymore. She went to the backyard to wash up and then started to make breakfast. This time, she also prepared breakfast for Pan Magia and Zyro Yiking. She didn't plan to ask Pan Magia for money, but if Zyro Yiking wanted to eat, she would let her second sister-in-law make the decision. While she worked in the kitchen, her family woke up one after another. Just after she finished cooking, Wang Muxiao walked into the kitchen quickly. Seeing that Lu Jiu was still cooking leisurely, Wang Muxiao hurriedly said, "Aya, Jiu, why are you still here?" Hearing the anxiety in Wang Muxiao's voice, Lu Jiu asked, "Second sister-in-law, what's wrong?" "Don't you know that Zyro Yiking went to find your fiancé just now?" Wang Muxiao asked with wide eyes. Lu Jiu was taken aback, shook her head and said, "I don't know. Why did she go to find brother Chenmo?" "What else? Of course she wants to take your man away from you." "Second sister-in-law, you can't say this casually. If someone hears it, it may cause trouble for brother Chenmo," Lu Jiu frowned and reminded her. "Now is not the time to talk about this. You should hurry to your fiancé's house. You don't know, this little girl sat so close to Li Chenmo yesterday and dared to act like an innocent little girl in front of everyone while sending flirtatious gazes at your man. I can tell that she is a vixen in a glance. She is trying to seduce your man," Wang Muxiao said angrily. Whenever she thought of Zyro Yiking's performance yesterday, she wanted to slap her. This time, Lu Jiu's eyes darkened, and she asked, "Is there such a thing? Why didn't brother Chenmo tell me about it yesterday?" "You can't blame your fiancé. After all, it was the little girl who had the intention, but your fiancé didn't know anything about it. From entering the house to leaving, he didn't even look at her." Wang Muxiao couldn't help saying a few words to defend Li Chenmo. She couldn't let Lu Jiu go to him to argue. In that case, wouldn't it be beneficial to that vixen? Seeing that Lu Jiu was still not moving, Wang Muxiao quickly helped her pack some breakfast for Li Chenmo and Father Li, and then urged her to leave. Under Wang Muxiao's strong urging, Lu Jiu could only sigh and went to Li's house. When she walked out of the house, she looked up and saw that the sun had just risen. It was still early, and she walked slowly while watching the sunrise. Since the heroine was meeting with the hero, she was not in a hurry. After all, she had already decided to let Li Chenmo make his own choice. Therefore, she did not intend to prevent the heroine from meeting the hero. If Li Chenmo changes his mind after meeting the heroine, she will dissolve the engagement and let the plot develop naturally. It's also good for them to meet before the wedding, lest he will regret it later, she said in a low voice. While Lu Jiyu was talking to herself, she took a deep breath to suppress the uncomfortable and suffocating feeling in her heart. Although she deliberately slowed down, she still arrived at Li's house in less than half an hour. When she stood in front of the gate, she hesitated whether to go in or not. She didn't know what scene she would see once she entered the gate. If she saw Li Chenmo looking at another woman with the same doting and gentle gaze that he used to look at herself, would she be able to accept it calmly? She didn't think so, because just imagining it made her heart ache. When she was standing outside the gate, Li Chenmo was looking at Zyro Yiking, who was standing in the front yard coldly. Father Li went to the county seat early in the morning to inform his second brother that his wedding date had changed, so he is alone at the moment. When the front yard gate was pushed open, Li Chenmo thought it was Lu Jiyu, so he walked out from his room. But when he opened the door, he saw Zyro Yiking standing outside instead. At first he asked her to leave politely, but instead of leaving, Zyro Yiking rushed forward and hugged his waist. Shocked and disgusted, he instantly pushed her away and staggered back a few steps, almost making the injury on his leg worse. Zyro Yiking was pushed by him and took several steps back. When she got close to the steps, her feet lost its footing and she fell to the ground. She raised her head and looked at Li Chenmo with teary eyes. "Brother Chenmo, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you, but I couldn't restrain my feelings for you. I fell in love with you the moment I first saw you, Zyro Yiking sobbed. At the end of her words, her voice trailed off and she bit her lip as she lowered her head. Li Chenmo looked at her with disgust and said coldly, "I don't care which mental hospital you are from, but you'd better stop talking nonsense, or I won't be polite to you. Leave and don't appear in front of me anymore." "Brother Chenmo, how could you treat me like this? We should be." Before Zyro Yiking finished speaking, Li Chenmo interrupted her angrily. "Don't call me so intimately. You make me feel sick. The only one who can call me affectionately is my wife Lu Jiyu. You'd better pay attention to your words when you speak, otherwise I don't mind helping you shut up forever." When Li Chenmo said these words, his eyes were cold and full of murderous intent. When his eyes fell on her body, Zyro Yiking felt that there was a knife held on her throat, which would end her life at any time. A chill ran up her spine in an instant. But instead of fear, she was ecstatic. This is the man worthy of the title of the male lad. She doesn't like gentlemen, honest, or kind men. She prefers people like Li Chenmo, who is ruthless, decisive, and capable, yet devoted to his loved one and knows what he wants. This ambitious and powerful man, only she is worthy to stand by his side and reach the pinnacle of life. She lowered her head to hide her ecstatic emotion while pretending to be frail. It seems that she can't push too hard, otherwise it will backfire. Even if she was anxious because of his wedding 2 days later, she should wait for another opportunity. Even if he married Lu Jiyu, she was confident that she could snatch him away. After all, Lu Jiyu is a weak and timid village girl who suffers from severe depression under the abuse of the original heroine Su Anna. Zyro Yiking even suspected that the author created her just to fill in the number of words. After reaching this conclusion, she looked at Li Chenmo with longing and said softly, "I'm really sorry. I will leave, but please don't hate me. She deliberately didn't finish her sentence and turned around with tears streaming down her face. The moment she turned around, a confident smile appeared on her face and her eyes flickered with a hint of pride. She thought it was a perfect performance, but the moment she opened the gate, her smile stiffened. Lu Jiyu was startled when the gate suddenly opened from the inside. She froze when she saw the person who opened the door. It was not because she saw Zyro Yiking coming out of Li's house, but because of the expression on her face. After a few seconds, Zyro Yiking came back to her senses. She was not afraid of Lu Jiyu at all, nor did she intend to hide her true self in front of the mob character. So when she walked past Lu Jiyu, she whispered, "What belongs to me will always be mine. HMPH. Lu Jiyu was taken aback by her words. She turned her head and saw Zyro Yiking walking away. Before she could think about her words, her wrist was grabbed by a palm covered with cold sweat. She turned around and found that Li Chenmo was looking at her anxiously. "Jiyu." Feeling the dampness in his hand, Lu Jiyu held his hand and said, "Let's go in and talk. It's cold outside, you." Her words were cut short when she saw his crutches on the ground. Her eyes widened when she noticed he was walking without any support. After the initial shock, anger rushed from her heart. Li Chenmo noticed her expression and turned to look at what she saw. When he saw his crutch, he suddenly remembered that when he saw Lu Jiu standing outside the door, facing that woman, he was so anxious that he didn't even bother to use the crutch. At that moment, the only thing filling his mind was the fear of losing her. At this moment, Lu Jiu was not only angry with Li Chenmo, but also angry with Xiao Yiking. These protagonists really live up to their names. They can literally toss around as they wish and not think about the consequences of their actions at all. She pulled her wrist from Li Chenmo's hand and went to pick up the crutch. Seeing that she was ignoring him, Li Chenmo wanted to walk towards her, but she heard her say through gritted teeth, "Brother Chenmo, if you dare to walk without crutches, I will never talk to you again." Hearing Lu Jiu's words, Li Chenmo stopped immediately. He stood there with complicated emotions. For a moment, he was afraid that she would ignore him because she was angry, that she would misunderstand him because of that woman. But the next moment, seeing her angry at him due to worry made him happy. However, when he saw her frustrated and annoyed expression, he felt guilty and heartbroken. Li Chenmo sighed as he thought that he really fell too deep, and there was no cure for it. He didn't know what he would do if one day Lu Jiu left him. At the thought of this possibility, his heart ached and he became dizzy. Just thinking of this possibility, he already had an urge to lock her up forever, so that she would never be able to leave him or meet other people. Shocked by his dark thoughts, Li Chenmo's body trembled. He took a few deep breaths to get the dangerous thought out of his mind. He won't allow anyone to hurt her, including himself. When Lu Jiu came back, she saw him shivering. Looking at his thin clothes and thinking of him being cold, she felt distressed. Seeing him standing there motionless, half of her anger was gone. She handed him the crutch and said, "Let's go in." She held the bamboo basket in one hand and helped him back into the house with the other. After entering the house, she closed the door to prevent the cold wind from blowing in. She put the basket on the table, added some charcoal to the brazier, and put it beside Li Chenmo. When she was done, she went to his room, took out the towel and squatted next to his chair. The next moment she took off his shoes, rolled up his trouser, and began to wipe the cold water on his legs and feet. Seeing her caring about him but refusing to talk to him, Li Chenmo was both happy and distressed. He finally couldn't stand Lu Jiu's silence after a while. He took her hand and pulled her to sit on the chair in front of him. He sighed and said, "I'm sorry." After a long time, Lu Jiu finally asked, "What are you sorry for?" As soon as these words came out, Lu Jiu felt she was acting like an unreasonable girlfriend. Just when she was about to take back the words, she heard Li Chenmo say, "I'm sorry for making you worry. No matter how anxious and impatient I am to explain the situation to you, I shouldn't be walking without support. My wife, can you please forgive me?" Lu Jiu felt that her breathing was blocked. Is this how people apologize in this day and age? What do these words mean? Why does he keep calling her his wife? They are not married yet. This man is really the shameless male lied. Seeing Lu Jiu's wide-eyed eyes and flushed cheeks, Li Chenmo knew that his strategy had worked. So he tried to gain a mile after getting an inch. He made a pitiful look and said in a low voice, "Wife, my leg hurts." Hearing that his leg hurts, Lu Jiu forgot to be angry and asked worriedly, "Where does it hurt? Has your injury worsened?" "No, this won't do. You wait here, I will go find the doctor." As soon as she stood up, she was pulled back by him. "Wife, you still care about me," he said with a smile while hugging her waist. Realizing that she was tricked by him, Lu Jiu was a little annoyed. She shook off his hand and asked with a frown, "What's going on?" This time, Li Chenmo knew that he had to explain carefully, otherwise he would lose his wife. So he stopped teasing her and explained the situation to her. After listening to his explanation, Lu Jiu understood the situation. Isn't it just love at first sight for the female lead? Due to the passion of love, she couldn't hold back herself and came to find the male lead. It's a pity that the male lead rejected her coldly, which broke the female lead's heart. So she ran away with tears in her eyes. This is a standard cliché plot. But Lu Jiu felt that something was wrong with Xiao Yiking. Her words sound like she knows the plot, and she also knew that she was the heroine. That's why she was so confident when she came to find the male lead. But she never expected that because of Lu Jiu's unexpected transmigration, the plot deviated from the plot line and she was rejected by Li Chenmo. When Lu Jiu came to this conclusion, her heart thumped with shock. Don't tell me that Xiao Yiking is a transmigrator like me. If that's the case, then it all makes sense. Her current character is too different from the female lead's character design in the novel. Doesn't that mean that the current female lead is not the original female lead? So what will happen to the plot? If the plot collapses, will the world be destroyed? The more she thought about it, the more dizzy Lu Jiu felt. Her mind was in chaos, and she was so absorbed in her thoughts that she didn't even hear Li Chenmo's anxious voice calling her several times. "Jiu." Hearing his voice, she pulled back from her thoughts suddenly. She looked up and saw him looking at her worriedly. He touched her cheeks with trembling hands and asked, "What's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell? Why are you so pale? Just say something, don't scare me." "Brother Chenmo, I'm fine," she said after a long time. "Are you sure?" he asked again while wiping the cold sweat from her forehead. She nodded. She didn't want to worry him, so she added, "The dishes are already cold, I'll heat them up." Despite his worry for her, Li Chenmo nodded and let her go. When he was alone, he clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. He didn't know what Lu Jiu was thinking just now that made her so scared, but he was sure that her current state was all because of that woman. If she didn't come to disturb him, Lu Jiu wouldn't see her coming out of his house, and Lu Jiu wouldn't be like this. Not only was Lu Jiu pale, but she was also covered in cold sweat. Will she think too much? No, it won't work. They were getting married in 2 days and he couldn't let anything happen. While Li Chenmo was thinking about what to do to avoid unexpected things from happening, Lu Jiu was absent-mindedly heating up the food in the kitchen. When the steam hit her face, she came back to her senses and quickly moved the steamed buns out of the stove. She looked at her trembling hands and clenched her fists tightly. "Lu Jiu, you have to calm down. Even if you guessed right, maybe when the plot collapses, the world will not be affected. This is not a novel, this is a parallel world. Your fate is in your own hands." After repeating this sentence several times, Lu Jiu finally calmed down. She took a deep breath before returning to the living room with the food. When Li Chenmo looked at her, she had already returned to normal. Because of the fright, Li Chenmo observed her intently as she placed the food on the table. When she sat down, he couldn't help asking, "Jiu, are you really all right?" "I'm fine," Lu Jiu nodded and served him a bowl of porridge. "If you have something to say to me, don't keep it to yourself. You have to tell me or I won't know," he added. Seeing his worry, she smiled and said, "Okay, let's eat before the food turns cold." After eating, Lu Jiu gave Li Chenmo a footbath and said, "Brother Chenmo, the candy we bought last time was distributed to the villagers yesterday, so I plan to go to the state-run supply store to buy some more." "Are you going alone?" he asked with a frown. It's not far, I'll be back before lunch. I'll prepare some noodles and bone soup for you before I leave. You and Uncle Li can have it for breakfast tomorrow," Lu Jiu said with a smile. "Aren't you coming later?" he asked again. "Since you are at home alone, I will stay and wait for Uncle Li to come back before I go home. I am worried about leaving you alone," she said, glancing at him. "All right." After giving him a footbath, Lu Jiu went to the kitchen, filled the water tank with water in the space, and went to check the bamboo water pipe. Unlike the water pipes of the Lu family, the water pipes of the Li family are longer. Therefore, the water is less than that of the Lu family, but it is more than enough for daily use. She also checked the vegetable patch in the backyard. Father Li grows cabbages and no other vegetables. She went to check the coop and saw an old hen inside. Because of the cold weather, the old hen squatted in the corner. Seeing its listless appearance, she took out a bag of chicken feed from her space and poured it on the chicken feeder. She also changed the drinking water. As if finding something delicious, the old hen opened its eyes and began to eat. The more it eats, the more energetic it will be. In less than 5 minutes, half of the feed is consumed. She refilled the chicken feeder, then washed her hands and went to the kitchen. She checked the food and seasoning inside. Compared with her family, the situation is better. At least the rice jar is almost full, with salt, sugar, oil, and even a small bottle of sesame oil. Baskets were full of eggs, and several pieces of salted meat hung from beams. She filled the seasoning jar, took out 2 catties of sausages, and put them in the cabinet. Since there was no coarse grain in her space, Lu Jiu didn't fill up the rice jar. Instead, she filled another jar with white flour. She is satisfied when she sees the jars were full. As soon as she entered Li Chenmo's bedroom, she saw that he had fallen asleep. She took the book from his hand, helped him to lie down, and covered him with a blanket. Sitting on the Kang bed, Lu Jiu began to read the book. As she expected, the book was one of the government propagandas. She lost interest and went to the kitchen to make some cakes. In this era without mobile phones and internet, the way she spends her time is either cooking, making clothes, or sleeping. Since she couldn't sleep in the same bed with Li Chenmo, she could only cook. After thinking about it, she chose to make steamed cakes. It's simple to make, filling, delicious, and has all the ingredients in this era. Not long after, she steamed several bowls of steamed cakes. After the cake was ready, she cut a bowl and left another bowl in the steamer for Li Chenmo and his father. As for the rest, she put them in her own space. She would later give it to her family to taste. As soon as she brought the cake out of the kitchen, she saw the educated youths come back. They were all taken aback when they saw her. After a while, they all greeted her with an awkward smile, sister-in-law. Lu Jiu didn't bother to correct them. After all, in 2 days she will be called sister-in-law by others due to her status as a married woman. She looked at their flushed cheeks, noses and ears. She also noticed some mud on their wet shoes. It seems that they went out to work. "Have you eaten?" she asked with a smile. "We have eaten," one of them said hastily. As soon as the words fell, there was a gurgle sound coming from his stomach. He blushed and covered his stomach in embarrassment. "You return at the right time. I just made a steamed cake for Brother Chenmo. Come in and have a taste," Lu Jiu said and put the steamed cake on the table. After finishing speaking, she entered Li Chenmo's room without saying anything. Chapter 53. They almost scared his soul away. 2. Seeing Lu Jiu enter the room, the educated youths entered the living room and looked at the brown steamed cake. By smelling the aroma, they already know that the cake must be delicious. Lu Jiu sat on the kang and looked at them through the open door. Seeing that they dare not take the cake, she urged, "Go on and taste it." "Then we won't be polite. Thank you, sister-in-law," one of them swallowed and said. After wiping his hands on his clothes several times, he picked up a piece of cake and took a bite. The steamed cake is soft and spongy, fragrant and sweet. While chewing, he couldn't help making a contented groan. Seeing him eating so deliciously, the other educated youths were drooling and took the cake one after another. As the 4 of them continued to sigh or groan, Li Chenmo was startled and woke up suddenly. Because of his sudden movement, Lu Jiu was taken aback. She looked at him with wide eyes, patted her chest and asked, "Brother Chenmo, what's wrong with you?" Li Chenmo looked at her and found that she was fine. Then he heard sighs and groans from the living room. When he saw the situation, he was so angry that steam could come out of his nostrils. Hearing those ambiguous voices in his sleep, he thought Lu Jiu was being bullied and woke up in fright. But after waking up, he found that there was nothing wrong with her, and those voices were made by those educated youths while eating. They almost scared his soul away. Seeing that his face was almost as dark as Judge Bao's, Lu Jiu thought he was woken up by them and was upset. So she pointed at them and said, "I made steamed cakes for you just now. Since they haven't eaten yet, I gave them a slice each." When the educated youth heard Lu Jiu's words, they turned their heads and saw Li Chenmo looking at them coldly. They were all stunned when they saw his gaze. "Cough, cough," they coughed almost simultaneously. Lu Jiu was taken aback by their neat timing of coughing and said, "Are you all right? You should go drink some water." As if being pardoned, they nodded and hurried to the kitchen. Seeing their antics, the corners of her mouth twitched. People of this world are indeed interesting. "Brother Chenmo, do you want to try the cake? It tastes best when it's warm," she asked. "MHMM," he nodded. She went to fetch the bowl and put it on the table. A bowl can be cut into 8 pieces, so after giving them each a slice, there are still 4 pieces left. Li Chenmo took a piece and took a bite after drinking some water. Although he had eaten breakfast, he was a military man and he was still recovering from his injuries. After Lu Jiu's careful care these days, his appetite has grown. Because of the delicious taste, he ate 3 pieces at once before stopping. "How is it?" she asked despite knowing the answer. "Very delicious," he praised her sincerely. "There's another bowl inside the steamer in the kitchen. If you want to eat it, just heat it up." "Okay." When the sun was setting, Father Li finally came back, followed by his second son and second daughter-in-law. Seeing them coming, Li Chenmo and Lu Jiu went to the living room together. Seeing Lu Jiu, Father Li smiled and said, "Xiaorui is here." "Uncle Lei," she greeted him with a smile. Before Father Li introduced her to the other 2, the woman asked, "Is this third brother's fiancé?" As she asked, she looked at Lu Jiu from head to toe with narrowed eyes. There was a trace of disdain in her eyes, which was seen by Li Chenmo and Father Li. Seeing Father Li and Li Chenmo's faces darken, Lu Jiu hurriedly said, "Yes, sister-in-law, my name is Lu Jiu. Nice to meet you." With those words, Father Li lost the opportunity to scold his second daughter-in-law, and could only say, "This is your second brother Li Chengshuan, and this is his wife Zhao Siyu." "Hello, second brother, sister-in-law." Li Chengshuan was surprised to find that his third brother's fiancée was a beautiful young lady. Judging from her words and reactions just now, she seems to be a cultured person. While Li Chengshuan was surprised, Lu Jiu also couldn't believe that this man was Li Chenmo's second brother. Not only is he below average in appearance, but he is also about the same height as her, which is around 163 cm. Compared with Li Chen's and Li Chenmo, who are both handsome and over 180 cm tall, this person didn't look like their brother at all. Maybe he took after Mother Li's appearance. Zhao Siyu was very irritated when she found out that her husband looked at Lu Jiu for a long time without blinking. She snorted as she knew her husband's lustful nature, and said while eyeing Lu Jiu, "So, this is the spoiled daughter of the Lu family. No wonder she could bewitch my third brother and those men. She indeed has the capabilities." Hearing her words, Li Chenmo's face darkened, and he said coldly, "Second sister-in-law, you should be careful with what you say. I will not allow anyone to disrespect my wife, including my family." Being reprimanded in front of Lu Jiu, Zhao Siyu got angry due to embarrassment and asked, "Isn't that so? You don't have to defend her. I know everything about her entanglement with those men from the villagers." After finishing speaking, she turned her head to look at Li Chengshuan and asked, "Are you just watching him disrespect me?" Li Chengshuan was dissatisfied with Li Chenmo since he didn't give him a face, and said, "Third brother, you should apologize to your sister-in-law. As your elder, can she say a few words to your wife?" Hearing what his second brother said, Li Chenmo chuckled and said, "Are those words what an elder should say? She didn't even bother to find out the truth and say those words to my wife. So what is the difference between her and those gossiping people?